well. The ovum is picked up by the water currents that are being produced by the end of her fallopian tubes. Now, notice her fallopian tube here appears to have fingers on it. Now, these fingers, again, mercifully, are called fimbria. So number 9 is a fimbria. Number 8 is a just ovulated ovum, a just released ovum. The fimbria now are on the expanded end of her fallopian tube, and the expanded end of her fallopian tube has a name, of course. It's called the infundibulum. I-N-F-U-N-D-I-B-U-L-U-M, the infundibulum. It is the expanded end of her ovarian tube, her fallopian tube, same thing, and it's designed to capture the ovum once it's released. Okay, now, the rest is her fallopian tube. You'll notice it narrows down and actually does become a tube. The fallopian tube is going to lead directly to her uterus. This whole thing here, this pear-shaped organ, is her uterus. All right, now, the uterus has parts to it, and the parts have different names. That part of the uterus that extends at the opening of the ovarian tubes and above is called the fundus, F-U-N-D-U-S. The main portion is called the soma, S-O-M-A, this part. Then it narrows down. Where it starts to narrow down is called the isthmus, I-S-T-H-M-U-S, I believe, isthmus. That's called a sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you, Anita. Oh. Somebody in here is wearing Chloe perfume. Oh. Okay. Let's continue on. You'll notice that her uterus is a pear-shaped organ. As I was saying, where it starts to narrow down at 18, well, around 18, is called the isthmus. Now, the long, straight part is the cervix. Now, it is the cervix of her uterus that extends into her vagina. The cervix of her uterus extends into the vagina. This, consequently, number 21, is part of her vagina. It's not the whole thing, but it's part of it. Now, there's a separation for about a quarter of an inch, a half an inch, depending on her heredity, between the cervix of her uterus and the surface of the vagina. Believe it or not, this has a name. It's called the fornix, F-O-R-N-I-X. So the fornix on this thing is not shown, but it is the space between the cervix and the walls of her vagina. These ridges and ribs in her vagina are mercifully referred to as rougae again, just like in the stomach. My suspicion is that they are to enhance male sexual stimulation. Well, that's strange because she doesn't really need those to do that, but that's something else. Study that in your psychology. I can't be the oh, good. Mr. Chow was here. Good. Yeah, he'll protect me. All right, now, it's not absolutely obvious on this model, but I'm going to advise you that her uterus is composed of 3 layers. The external layer It's called a perimetrium. Perimetrium. P-E-R-I-M-E-T-R-I-U-M. Basically, it's a layer of simple squamous epithelia. The main portion, what color is this? Tan, beige, red?
Salmon, I go salmon.
Pink? Pinkish, okay. Everything you see here in pink is smooth muscle, and it's called the myometrium. M-Y-O-M-E-T-R-I-U-M. Now, the innermost layer, the one that actually does the work for the first 9 months of a pregnancy, is called the endometrium. Now, the thing is, lucky you, that the endometrium is itself composed of 2 layers. The 2 layers are not on this model. They are the functionalis and the basalis, so in a lab I can't ask you that because I don't have a model that shows that, but I'll tell you all about it in the lab. All right, now these are the fundamentals. There's another one. Anybody want this one? Anybody?
I do.
There you go. All right, now there's another female model that has her external genitalia. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you. This model is not nearly as good as the one that I just showed you. However, it does give us some information. Am I still the only male in here except for Chow? Mr. Chow, this is her front. This is her back. This is the anus, so don't go confusing the anus for the vagina, okay? Oh, you think that hasn't happened? No. All of her external genitalia has a common collective name called the vulvox, V-U-L-V-O-X, or maybe just a vulva. Vulva is singular, vulvox, believe it or not, is plural. All right, now, here is her vagina, right here. Her vagina, her external genitalia, it has 2 skin layers on it. The external skin layer on this model, number 12, is the labia majora. Labia meaning lips, majora meaning the big one, because it must have reminded some early anatomist of big lips, who knows. Now, just inside is the labia minora. And the same definitions, the same. Okay, now, here is her uterus. Right here. I'm sorry, this is not her uterus. This is her bladder, her urinary bladder. And here, number 23, is the opening of the urethra into her vagina. Here is her uterus. Now, number 6 on this model is the cervix. Now, fortunately, on this model, number 14 is the fornix that I told you about 90 seconds or so ago. This layer of fat right here is called the mons pubis. It generally has bristly hair connected to it, which really doesn't mean anything. The hair, evolutionarily, is meant to protect her during, you know. Okay, here is the uterus, number 8. It's not very well shown. Number 2 is the the fallopian tube, I'm sorry. The fallopian tube is number 2. And then the fimbria are number 3. And number 1 is her ovum. Other than that, I'm not sure you can extract any more information from this model. However, it's a good one. It's a good one. Any questions? All right, then let's take a look at him. Anybody, who's this? Thank you so much.